Alrighty, let's go ahead and get started. My name is Jenny, and I want to welcome all of you to the program committee. We'd like to have you all welcome to be here. And I'd like to begin by telling Ann began gardening vigorously at 5 years old when she planted carrots in her grandmother's gravel driveway, and it didn't go so well. But she was inspired by both her grandmothers. One had an English flower garden with blue hydrangeas in zone 4 of Iowa, which is unheard of, and an in-ground koi pond, also unheard of in the cold Iowas in the 50s. And the other grandmother taught her wildflowers. Her dad fostered her passion by helping her try to grow peaches in the terrible zone 4, helping to plant them in whiskey barrel planters on coasters so they could roll them into the garage in the winter. Ann has been a master gardener for 23 years as both an Illinois master gardener and a Michigan state master gardener. Ann is a retired dermatologist. She cherishes her family, loves teaching her grandkids gardening, and loves genealogy, including finding an ancestor who had the fern leaf peony her second great grandmother brought from Germany in 1852, and it blooms every Mother's Day. Her garden in Champaign was on 2 garden walks, featured in 2 national magazines, won the $1,000 prize from Scott's Walmart National Contest, and twice won the Chicago Tribune's Glorious Gardens Contest. She is an avid rabbit gardener and has run the annual Triplants program for 22 years. And her motto is gardening should be fun. And Ann, thank you so much for coming and talking to us.
Well, it's my pleasure. And I hope the handout and everything isn't too overwhelming. When I go to different slides, I may have every single plant in that picture up there. Don't read it at all. It's in your handout, and I'll just be pointing out good ones. So are you bored with winter and just hanging around waiting for spring like my cat? Want to see pretty garden pictures, pick up new ideas, learn about new plants, get a handout on succulents, get a handout of our Idea Garden's top annual winners up through 2022, and see amazing colorful designs. If so, you've got the right place. And why won't it advance? Oh, no. Why isn't it advancing? Boo. There. Okay. Colors, shapes, and forms. Oh my. The Michigan State University MSU Annual Trials Garden by me, Advanced Master Gardener, and ARG, Avid Rabbit Gardener, as I mentioned. I'm putting my email on the bottom, dermgood@gmail.com. In case you have questions or you want to see a picture again, you can always email me. Dermgood, because I'm a retired dermatologist. And we used to say, let's go see that Dermgood patient. Now, this is the scope of the overall lecture. I'm going to give information on the MSU gardens, which are in Lansing, Michigan, specifically the annual trial garden, how the gardens are run, how they are supported, suppliers, growing, planting, everything. So we can use that to compare with what we do. And designs is the most important thing to me. This is where the manager that runs the trial gets her ideas, info on some of the plants and a few of her favorites. Then I'll go into the actual designs that they have, anywhere from simple 3 to 5 plant variety groupings to a huge rainbow colored bed, which I love. Now, I'm giving you a couple of handouts on the MSU succulent trial. They had a trial going on for 5 years to see which succulents would last the best outside. And in the handout, I made it for me actually, because I didn't know all the names of the succulents. And in the handout, I put in pictures both from Deidre McGrath, the person that runs the MSU trial gardens, and also others. So I could try to focus on them and figure out, well, what is that one? So I thought that might be helpful for you. I'm not going to discuss those in any detail. And because I am talking about another trial garden, I put in the best of our trial plants. I have permission from our cats and my family to use their photos in here. I also have permission from Deidre McGrath, the manager of the MSU annual trial garden, to use her pictures and the information that she's posted online. And so you may see a couple of her pictures. So sit back and relax. MSU has 14 acres of horticulture gardens, and of that, 2 acres are associated with the annual trials. Most plants are in a designed landscape planting instead of just rows. The MSU gardens are huge. There's an area here that is the landscape arboretum, a big, large children's garden, a perennial garden they have, a long row of roses with the perennials on one side and container trials and natives over here. But this is the area that we're going to focus on, which is their annual trial garden. This is an example of the children's garden. I'd love to give a lecture on that. They have lots of good ideas, but that's out of the scope. The long row of roses, and there's where the annuals began, perennials here, container plants over there, and natives. So here it is. This Deidre McGrath, the manager, has 20 large beds to fill in this area. She plants about 30,000 plants each year with about 500 varieties. They have an all-American selection display, and from Flora Select, they get some perennials also. And they have a number of trial beds. If you look at this, there's all these little kind of spaghetti-shaped areas. These are block rows of trial plants, but then she gets really creative in some of these other areas. And I want you to notice this hexagonal shape here. It's a sunken garden with a beautiful fountain in the middle. And this is where she designed the rainbow garden this year, starting with one color at this end, going over and repeating it on the other side. So it'll give you a little frame of reference when we get to that, which is the last garden design I'll be talking about. This is the sunken garden with the fountain in the middle, and the rainbow plants this year, 2022, were all the way around it. And here's an example of how they do some of their trial plants in squares running in and out of the landscape. It's quite lovely. And of course, I had to go over there and snoop it out to see how our trial plants were doing compared to theirs. And it was very similar. They have container trials, and they run mostly on volunteers, as you'll learn. These containers are watered by volunteers almost every day. And this is where I got the idea to get some large container plants for our garden last year to use in the trials. Now, how did I get the idea to do this lecture? It was a really, really hot day. This gentleman was standing outside of a greenhouse because it was hotter in there. And I went up to tell him how excited I was about the designs. He told me who runs them, and it's Deidre McGrath, a trial garden manager. She's been there for 10 years. She gives some excellent lectures too. She's actually giving a lecture on something else today, so she couldn't attend this. But here she is, and you can see how fond she is of plants. So she has a lot of great ideas on design. So I decided I would interview her in August, and I just had a wee of a time. And the more I listened to her, the more and more excited I got. So let me tell you some of those things. The designs change from year to year. For instance, all these hanging containers here are donated by 4-Star Nursery, one of the 4 main growers of proven winter plants in Carlton, Michigan. Now, we've trialed proven winter plants for many years. I do like them, but I want to say that I don't endorse them over other plants or other companies at all at the extension. That's just, we've been fortunate to be able to have proven garden or proven winter plants. And I love the container basket they sent. They should donate some to us just because we're nice. How are they supported? Mostly by individual donors and many plant companies. The plant companies like Walter's Gardens give us some perennials to trial, and all of the plant companies that donate for the annual gardens I've written down in our handout, They also raise money by events. Can you imagine what a beautiful setting? This is the conservatory. The greenhouse where they have the dinner set up is right over here. And they even have an events coordinator, and they run all sorts of events, not just weddings here. But if you want a top of the line wedding and you reserve the entire annuals area and they set up chairs on the lawn, it's $5,000 in case you want to rush out and do that. They have other ways of earning money. They have donation boxes. This is a PVC pipe that they've somehow made secure, and people donate commemorative bricks and more ideas. They also have plant sales. They have access to their huge greenhouses, and they grow annuals and other plants for the beds, but also they grow a lot extra specifically for the spring plant sales. She loves to use succulents in the garden, and she's got some great ideas. Well, at the end of the season, they divide the succulents, keep some in the greenhouse, and then they sell the rest in the for people to use as houseplants in the fall. Now, can you imagine working at a community garden and you design a garden that can tolerate dry soils because you don't have volunteers out there to water it very much, say at a nursing home. And in the fall, you could divide it and give some to the residents to keep inside for the winter. That would be pretty nice. Their staff is very, very limited. Now, they work their butts off just like we do. This is our Champaign County Master Gardeners, and I thank them for letting me do that. Deidre is the manager. She does have 2 to 3 paid summer interns. They get more students during the planting time, which there is late May to early June. They rely heavily and almost the majority on volunteer work. They come in once a week for about 3 hours. It's a large group out of 200, but they get about 8 to 16 each week, but that's for all 14 acres. She gets 2 to 3 interns or volunteers a week. So it's a lot of work for a few people. Grow, babies, grow. What my seeds see every 30 minutes after I've sowed them. They try to grow mostly seeds, and they ask companies for freebies also. It saves on costs. They do get some plant plugs from some companies. I'm going to leave all the details of this for you to read in your handout, but there's exactly what they do. They start the seeds in the winter and through early spring. This is Deidre in one of her articles that she gave me permission to use this picture in. It's their new way of planting the annuals. Every fall, they add about 1 to 2 inches of compost. So this soil on the older beds is very rich and easy to get through. They use a cordless electric drill with a bulb auger attached. It saves injury, and it certainly goes faster when you have 30,000 plants to put in over a 3-week window. And they plant them 8 to 12 inches on center planting. Now, you still have to get down on your hands and knees to get there, and that would be the harder part for me. But it is a good idea. Summer care, they don't do much fertilization. They do regularly fertilize things in the greenhouse so they come out looking good, but they may only fertilize 1 to 2 times a summer with a dosatron, which sets up a specific balance of their fertilizer. It's just water powered through the hose. They have volunteers that hand irrigate. Here they set this up and then they'll move it around. They hand weed, deadhead, and they don't do any disease control. Here's a bonus tip I got from her last spring. We had problems in the greenhouse. The petunias and the calabricoas get real fussy in the greenhouse, particularly if you have alkaline water, like is often found in the Champaign-Urbana area of Illinois. She said, use this Jack's petunia feed plus magnesium. So they use it in the greenhouse, and they also do fertilize their petunias and calabricoas with that after they take it out. They evaluate all the trial plants almost the same way we do, except they do it every other week. They check for vigor, uniformity, a wow factor, resistance to disease and stress. And I've given you complete links to all of their detailed Excel versions for the last number of years. And just like when I create an Excel, there's a slide bar down here. You move back and forth. You can see June's comments, and the next one over would be July, August, etc. Problems. This is where you have to correct your handout. The canavirus, aphids carry it. And she has to design some of the beds so that if she wants to put in cannas, she doesn't plant them near vegetables. Canavirus is not carried in the soil, so cross that out on your handout. They also have problems with white mold, sclerotinia, in some of the beds, and that limits her planting with things that she loves, zinnias, gomphrena, ornamental peppers, and nicotiana. And it affects a lot of other plants too, but I don't really have time or the knowledge to go into all of that. Designs. This is what I got really excited about, is the design she uses in their beds. How does she get her ideas? Well, she looks through magazine, media, I'm certain social media, some gardening sites. She might only find one plant that she really liked or was interested in, especially if she hasn't grown it before. She loves to try new things. She also visits other botanic gardens, and in her design, she loves to add ornamental vegetables, herbs, and houseplants. This would be great for any home gardener or any community garden to think about. Last year, she walked into work one day and they'd ripped all the bushes out in front of an entrance to a building. And they said, hey, here's your new area. Well, the soil is really crummy and old. And she thought, oh, I've got to design something that's temporary until we can get the soil improved. And she decided to design the entire thing around this plant, Nicotiana peach screamer. It's about 3 to 4 inches tall. They don't know where the name came from, but in Oregon, people called it peach screamer because this looked like a screaming mouth that was open. And just that story had me enchanted. So she designed everything around that plant. Here it is, the peach screamer. She decided she'd do a cottage garden with peach, cream, rose, and chocolate colors. It was new with the poor soil, which is what I told you, but she picked 42 different varieties. 7 of them were Nicotiana to plant there of tough, hardy plants. And it didn't look so bad even by the end of August. And then to capitalize on this, in early September, she had a class with a small fee for flower arranging. And they went in and they cut all the Nicotiana and Bracteantha, the straw flowers and everything down in order to create flower arrangement, which I thought that was pretty good and pretty sensible way to make a little bit of extra money. This is one of her favorites. I'll put in some of her favorites every now and then. This is Bracteantha grandvia gold. It has a much bigger straw flower. It's vigorous, mildew resistant. Your handout will have the other details. But what got me excited, I'd never paid attention to these before, is she said there's 4 new colors that are going to come out. And it did well in that poor soil and drier conditions of the cottage garden. How she plans designs. Usually she'll pick 3 to 5 plant varieties and try to keep a small palette, but not necessarily in 2022. Designs change. She uses big blocks of color, and she takes into account which bed are drier or wetter. Now, Michigan can have some real soaking rains and a lot of cloudy weather, but then there's other areas where the beds are not more moist, they're drier. And she did mention this, and in COVID, at the start of it, they closed their greenhouses down. They stopped watering everything. And the 2 plants that survived for many weeks were geraniums and the sun-tolerant coleus without water. Now, I thought coleus needed a lot of water, but evidently these new sun-tolerant coleus can do quite well in a drought condition. She also likes salvia, celosia, besides the coleus. Well, so she gets her ideas and then she makes a spreadsheet of all the seeds and the plants they have coming in with name, color, notes, heights, and the source, which company gave it to them. Then she makes another spreadsheet of just the colors. You'll see this in a bit. And the thing I was really impressed with is she uses PowerPoint to make collages. Some of their templates allow you to do that. And then she'll rearrange the plants. So let's see what that means. Here's her spreadsheet with every single plant listed alphabetically, the names, the colors in blocks, the height and the source, and comments if she needs it. She also makes a color-coded plant list, such as this. In 2021, she just told her students, take all these leftover plants from the sale that they had and create 4 gardens. So they did, and they grouped the white plants together, the yellow plants, and they made 4 areas of beds with 1 color only. That gave her an idea to do a rainbow garden, and that'll be the last of the pictures with 9 different color units. I think it was a brilliant idea. This is what she does to PowerPoint. So she puts a series of anywhere from 3 to 6 plants together and sees how they look together. This is a rose and chocolate colored plants that she was thinking about for the cottage garden and did indeed use those. Then she can put them all together. This is her 2021 designs where she wanted to do oranges, yellows, and blues for most of the gardens. So she puts them all together and sees how they look together. And then if she can change them around before she does it all. And I'm very jealous. She has all of her designs done for 2023, and I don't know what they are, but I'm impressed. Out a printable template in PowerPoint. I don't know how to do that yet. This is the conservatory bed where they have the sidewalk leads to the greenhouse and an event area. At planting, the names of these may change a little bit because they have poor germination or crop failure, just like any greenhouse can. But here's an example from 2021 leading to that central plaza. At planting time, and the same bed matured in 2021. The year she got married, which was several years ago, she decided to design all white and orange because she was getting married in the garden and it matched her wedding colors. On to the designs. This is a quote, a limited palette entry. It's an entry to it, purple and yellow colors. And there's some lantana tree plants in the back. Coleus pineapple brandy, which that one I know is a plug. And she uses a lot of gomphrena and salvia in her designs. We'll look at a couple of those plants. This is a favorite of hers, this gomphrena ping pong purple. And it's looking marvelous with a plant I'll tell you about next. This is a verbena plant there. I'll show you the next thing. And this salvia fairy queen, she used in a lot of designs. It's like Victoria blue, but has a little bit different and lighter color variation. This one really stood out in my mind. We trialed a type of verbena rigidita 2 years ago. It was called Cake Pops. And I have to tell you, in my mind, I thought it was a miserable failure in containers and in the ground, maybe because we overwatered it. But it was a weak plant with a little ball in the end, and it sounded so cute. I wouldn't buy it. This is a seed-grown Santos purple verbena rigidita. They have these rigid stems here and a beautiful intense color flower at the top. It spreads out fairly wide, but they call it compact still, and it is upright. It wasn't looking quite as good by late August because they had heaps of rain, but most verbena, in my experience, they kind of poop out for go on vacation, as I call it, for July and August, and then they just fiddle around the rest of it. So this one I thought was a great plant. Another area with a limited palette. There's 6 plants here, and it's designed in rose, blue, and burgundy. So some Angelonia, the kind is named in your handout, Celosia, the salvia, but it's great to see this punch of big, bold foliage. Oh gosh, I can't, Colocasia black magic, ornamental millet in the back, and she loves to use the vegetables. So this is the Tuscan kale, which is quite edible and rumored to be one of the better kinds of kale. It adds such great texture. Here's a limited palette of only 3 plants. The ornamental millet, I believe that's fireworks gomphrena, and a spilanthes. I'm used to the spilanthes, also known as eyeball plant, as being a little yellow one with a brown dot in the middle. Well, these are all yellow and called lemon drop. What I didn't know till I looked it up, it's also called the toothache plant and buzz buttons. And that one just cracked me up, buzz buttons, because when you put it in your mouth, it tingles or even numbs a toothache. Supposedly it's edible. You can use it in cocktails and soups. I wouldn't personally recommend that. You can get lip swelling, and don't take it if you're on a diuretic. But it is fun to learn a little bit more about the plants than just their appearance and height. A limited palette again, 3 plants, lime, burgundy, and purple. This is Verbena bonariensis with 2 beautiful coleus, and that's a standout design with very simple components. A triangular bed of white, green, and yellow. And I really liked how she put this triangular bed between the two greenhouses, because the white picks up on the hydrangeas and the yellows and oranges pick up on the bed to its left. But this was quite inventive, I thought, using large areas of chard. The Swiss chard is called Oriole for the bright orange yellow, and then cute little Gomphrena and Euphorbia in the front. So this is the Gomphrena. I think that's Buddy White, Euphorbia Diamond Frost. The back of it is taller, white, Salvia, Evolution, white. And this is a tree lantana. Anyway, this makes me nuts. It's bold leaves contrasted with fine texture for shot of color. Can you do this at home? Yes. I mean, for perennials or annuals or cannas or anything, to get a bold leaf contrasting to the fine textures of the Euphorbia and others. And it could be with perennials also. Here she used wedges of color, and it's a shockingly wonderful combination of sedum lemon coral with buddy purple Gomphrena, and accented with the burgundy of the, let's see, red sensation cordyline. And I'll tell you about this fabulous Cleome in just a little bit. Oh, here's all the plants. Don't bother reading it, but I did want to give you a quote. This needs to be weeded here. Where are the volunteers? But this is sedum lemon coral, and she said sedum lemon coral is one of her favorites because it looks especially good with magenta, as chartreuse goes with anything. So I like that quote, and I liked her designs. Arundo Donax in the back. We used to have that at the Idea Garden. It's a zone 6. I'm sure it doesn't live in Michigan over the year. Here's 3 of her favorites that I mentioned. This Cleome Sparkler 2.0 purple. And that's a newer Cleome. It's supposed to be more compact. It is a hybrid, but I couldn't find if it's a sterile hybrid or not. It wouldn't come true to color. Here's the Fairy Queen Salvia, which is certainly makes the bees happy, and Gomphrena Buddy Purple. Those are another group of her favorites. Well, okay, so I've shown you all these annuals. All right. Well, you could do something similar for a perennial design. If you wanted a yellow, blue, purple, and burgundy perennial area, asters, along with Euphorbia. This one, well, it's generic Euphorbia. The Rudbeckia, American Gold Rush, which is a newer one, which is much more resistant to some of the diseases and stands up very well. Liatris Cobalt, that's been around for years. Here's a new one I'd like to have you see. This is the fall color, but this is a little blue stem. And we just heard at the MSU Plant Crust lecture that this new one is called Standing Ovation. And that's because it tends to stay upright. So standing ovation, as opposed to little blue stem, the blues, which often will flop open depending upon the conditions you have it planted in, and not be quite as helpful as being an upright plant. And this is a newer Heuchera Dulce Wildberry. So you could get an idea to do the same color scheme or design with perennials. They have an espalier gazebo. Great idea for the backyard, socializing and relaxing. And I like how she used the red burgundy colors to go along with the brown wood. And they set up the bar right there for their event. So that could be handy in the backyard too. She didn't have all of these plants named, but here's the Cridulus cordyline Red Sensation and Nicotiana Perfume Red. That's her favorite. Getting into a silver and white bed, here is the entrance, long sidewalk, but she blends it very well into the actual blocks of trials. So silver and white, then starting with the white, I believe these are impatiens, light pink, and getting to the darker color. So even the blending into the side beds is done very well. Don't read everything there. I'll tell you the highlights. White silver bed. This is right near the wedding and event center. Now, who would have thought of giant areas of parsley in a beautiful wedding bed? This is a great idea. Dusty Miller can be boring, but used in a group, it's spectacular with the silver contrasting to the parsley, and using large, bold textures such as the cardoon tenderheart. They start the cardoon in, she said, when they start celery seeds. So that's about 10 to 12 weeks before frost, their last frost. And so, technically you could start that in the greenhouse. She called this colocasia green. I don't have an exact name for it. Supposedly the alocasia, somebody can correct me if they want, but alocasia point up and the colocasia may point down. I don't know about that, but I like the idea. So it's stunning with just an everyday parsley compared to the Dusty Miller and then the cardoon and large textured things at the back. So you've got color, although it's a limited palette of silver and greens, shapes and forms. It's magnificent. This is annual grass skyrocket, I believe. It's variegated, and that was kind of fun. Oh, those are annuals. But here's an idea for perennial designs. I made all this up, all these perennial ideas, just to get you thinking, could you try something for your community garden, the idea garden, or your home garden? When we were talking about new ideas, this is a mess, I know, I'll show you a better one. Talking about doing something new for the theme garden, I thought, well, maybe we could have a white and green perennial garden with standard hydrangeas, Brunera in the back where it's shady. But if you stick that into one of the fancy PowerPoint templates, I look very professional now. Let me tell you a couple of these plants just as an added aside. This is Miscanthus Dixieland, and that's a newer one too. It's a quote dwarf, meaning it only gets 4 feet, but would be 4 feet tall. It would be a lot better for a limited size garden. Daisy May, I truly think that's better than Becky. I'm sorry, Becky, I loved you, but I like Daisy May better. One of the standard hydrangeas, the panicle ones. I love this one, and I planted in my own garden, Brunera Sterling Silver, and it's lasted a number of years. This is an old favorite of a reblooming iris called Immortality. It doesn't have heavy reblooms, but I bless it if it sends up a couple blossoms late fall. And a new arborvitae, Tater Tot. It's a cute little thing. It'd be great for a small garden. Okay, on to another. This particular garden made me insane in 2021. I thought it was amazing because it had 2 kinds of succulents here, aloe vera and Seneco together, marigolds in the middle, and 2 kinds of grasses. This is New Zealand hairgrass, and the brown is Bronco, and the green is Amazon mist. Well, I thought that was a great idea, using succulents and these nifty textured grasses, but it was even more exciting for me in 2022. She created this amazing spiral design with all sorts of patterns in it and colors and contrasts. Now they're all about the same height, but they're still, some of these plants are upright, some of them are arching, so they do have different forms, and it's a dry area with no irrigation, and they all did very well. Here's the overhead view of it. Parsley, doing great. Melampodium, Dusty Miller. This is a succulent, let's see, Seneco, I believe. And then that Carex Amazon mist, these are leftovers. They just stuck in this design, and Bronco. But look in here, these are snake plants, a whole collection of them. And you'll see that another couple times. Here's the snake plants running around in this spiral design. Yeah, it widened my horizons. I'd never thought of using that. And the sedum lemon coral again, because she loves that. And she also loves magenta. She said the magenta of something like Gomphrena Buddy Purple can make any other color pop. More of the same with a little bit better lighting, just thrilling textures and shapes and forms and color. Oh my. The Carex Bronco close up. I know I have a bunch of these. I really liked them. Sorry, but it was just so eye catching. And here's different textures and forms. The arching kalanchoe with the New Zealand hairgrass and little sedum lemon coral over there. Again, I did put in too many of these. I'm sorry. Okay, ideas for perennial design. Well, what if you wanted to do some type of curved or spiral design? You could do this in the shade. This is a great plant. I grow it myself. Carrick's banana boat, the Heuchera dulce wildberry, and stilbe, a short astilbe, and Hakona cloa grass, so beautiful for the shade, along with Heuchera citronelle, which is a villosa. It's bigger and stronger, more vigorous leaves, and that is one of my favorite chartreuse Heuchera. Or you could do it for sun. So this is an ajuga, burgundy glow, I believe. Now you're doing burgundies and pinks and yellows here. Armeria, this is a Carex Everillo, I believe. One of my all-time favorite sedums. It's dazzleberry, and it has these burgundy flowers in the fall, but it is a great low-growing sedum. This is an old standby. I know there's newer versions, but a Dianthus fire witch. Its blue-green color will pick up the colors the other. And another old one, Moonbeam coreopsis. Or you could put this kind of color, Sedum angelina, a perennial, Ajuga, black scallop. This is another one of my new favorites. It's another Sedum dazzleberry, but this one is called plum dazzled, and it has such a striking burgundy. The deer eat all my Heuchera over the winter, so I don't have very many of them left. So I put in some sedum dazzleberry, and it looks great. This is a new sedum bundle of joy that will be a mass of white flowers soon after this picture was taken. And the heleniums I'm attracted to now. This is a dwarf version. Oh, let me find the name of that. It is mariachi salsa. It is on your handout, but the rabbits and the deer don't eat that, and that is great in my book. Well, how about a wave design? She's got several different plants that have this fuchsia pink color in here, followed by that eyeball plant, the spilanthes in front. And let's see what some of those plants are. She blends the burgundy and the fuchsia. This is the Coleus party time, a sun patient here. It's also over here. This is a vinca, a tattoo series of the vinca. The reason why they called it tattoo, I think it came out maybe 6 years ago, is because the inner parts of the vinca are dark black, and they were trying to market to, I will say, the younger than me generation who really enjoy getting tattoos. So they put tattoo, and it makes it sound very special and wonderful. Here's a wave design with succulents. So if you were gardening near a nursing home, you didn't have volunteers to come out and water a lot, these can take it. Evolvulus, lantana, but look at some of the other plants in here. Aloe vera. So they're going to have to dig that up and probably sell part of it in their fall succulent sale. Ornamental peppers. Yet, kalanchoe. Great. And I'd not heard of this before, and I probably won't say it right either. Craspedia Golf Beauty. And it's got very fine textures, but the end of these stems, they have little tiny yellow golf balls waving around in the wind. And that's unusual. And why not try something crazy like that? You could maybe have it inside in the house over the winter. So it's delightful for a dry area. And here's the golf balls. The handout I sent you is all of it was taken from her work on a 5-year trial of succulents, and has very interesting ideas about, well, if they get scarred by the sun, some succulents will cover over those leaves and others just kind of look miserable all season. And here's our cat after listening to me talk about plants for 2 hours. Actually, that's Tigger, and he had a little surgery, and he didn't like wearing a cone, and he didn't like wearing his cat onesie either. This is the last one. It's rainbow design, as I'd alluded to before. The idea came for 2021 students. Now, normally around that sunken bed with the fountain in the middle, she uses 1,500 plants, but limits it to 5 repeating varieties, she says, for sanity's sake. Well, she got so inspired by the students, and she'd always wanted to try a rainbow garden. She used 76 varieties with 7 more than 10 in each color group. And she used plants that were either being grown for the other areas, you'll see some repeats, or they were leftovers from the plants they grew for their spring plant sale only. So they took off, and she made this, the fountain in the middle. It goes from greens to blues, purple, getting over into kind of fuchsia pink, all the way to red, and continuing with the reds, blending into the oranges, coming out with the yellow with the giant sunflower in the middle at the corner, white, and finally black. And if you just take stand back and take a look at this, you've got all sorts of heights and shapes and colors and forms. Oh my, this was fabulous too. And each area just had one label with the many, many things I copied down so I could give them to you on this handout. So ignore everything up at the top. Just look at the pictures. Here's the green area with parsley and succulents would have a fine texture, and nicotiana spilling over, and the large leaf of the colocasia or alocasia, if you want to call it that. This is another area there, but this green with all the different textures and the fireworks like blooms of the papyrus or cyperus, it was absolutely delightful. This is an ipomea. I have it named a sweet potato plant with the parsley, some coleus, just spilling over nicotiana lime green. And there was even heliochrysum at the bottom of it. So all sorts of plants. There were leftovers and they're all green. Stuff them in there and it looked great. Wonderful textures and form, upright textures of the celosia, and even stuck a prickly pear in the middle of the zinnias veneris giant lime. More textures. This succulent is Senecio Himalaya. It's upright, but these little tiny fine fingers. Celosia sylphid and papyrus, the cyperus bloom. She had 2 kinds of papyrus in there. More upright forms. Jade Princess Millet. We tried that many years ago. I love that plant. It has chartreuse leaves and these little foxtails that wave in the wind. But I went nuts over this big boy here. This is amaranth, green tower, and oh my, it's a spectacular plant. The backside of it is some purple plants, makes it stand out. The bees love it, and I read about it a little bit. The leaves evidently taste like spinach, but it's just great spectacle to look at. Here's her transitions from the green areas into the blue, with eucalyptus growing in there. We'll see more of that. Here's the blue. Again, with that Tuscan kale, what a fabulous texture and big bold leaf. Eucalyptus. I have to always look at the name of this one. Senecio, I believe. Yes, Senecio. This is a different version of Senecio. And with petunias and all. Kalanchico, the arching kind here. Ageratum. 3 kinds of salvia. Here's the Fairy Queen, the black and blue. So he puts it all together and it's a masterpiece. Purples, using all sorts of kinds here. Tradescantia, Gomphrena, Salvia, and the ornamental millet in the middle. But again, she's using fine and bold textures, which is good advice for anybody's garden, annuals, perennials, or whatever. This frilly kale scarlet, along with some salvia and verbena bonariensis. This vinca wasn't named, but the Gomphrena. And there's that verbena rigidita Santos purple, which I really was attracted to. And there it is again. Here's your Cleome Sparkler 2.0 purple again. And it's got such a rich color to it. Great plant. Transitioned from the purples going into pink. This looks like flaming pink, but all right. Very hot color pink, and then a little bit softer pinks here. But there's coleus and vinca and all sorts of things, including two different kinds of vinca, three kinds of gomphrena. This one is raspberry cream. That one there is called gomphrena QIS carmine. Now, QIS is a Pan-American seed, and the QIS stands for quality in seed. It really had me befuddled till I was able to find that. Quality in seed, okay. And the gomphrena fireworks. But then she put in a houseplant. This is irisine. It's the curled leaf kind. And, along with the zinnias, fine. Pinks blending to the red, and the red has some standout plants. This huge, wonderful castor bean, Carmencita, and this is a newer celosia with burgundy leaves and just livid scarlet. And you can read about some of the others there, but it was delightful because there's heights at both ends of the bed. Amaranth early splendor. It almost looks like a very tall burgundy leaf poinsettia, but it's a cool plant. I never thought a lot of celosias before. I mean, they just seem boring. I really am interested in them now after seeing how she uses them. An ornamental pepper, and as it ages, it turns an orange, very close to the gomphrena QIS red. And there is the celosia new look red, and Nicotiana perfume red. Again, Nicotiana is one of her favorites. Now here we have the reds coming around the corner, blending to orange with tiny celosia and tall celosia of different forms and shapes. But what is this amazing plant in the middle? In all the oranges, boom, there's a great looking plant there. Joe and I both went over to it right away. It's called lion's tail, Leonotus leonuras. I probably didn't say that right. But it's this huge, tall beast of a plant that gets 4 to 6 inches tall, but it takes till middle of July to August to get its full height. It is a mint. You can see very well. It has square stems with blossom to blossom. It's unusual and fabulous to put in there. I wanted to mention the bidens. We've had bidens we've trialed before, and they are good plants that bloom all summer. This is a newer one by a different company, and it's got a huge name, Takatuka Orange Yellow Brush. Well, I'd hate to run into the store and say that quickly to the person, but that might be a great one to use sometimes. And this coleus caught my eye too. It looks very much like one made by Proven Winners, Sedona Sunset, but this one is called Main Street, Wall Street, with ochres and oranges and a hint of purple in the middle. Just beautiful colors. And a teeny tiny Cosmo orange celosia, and a very tall, 3 to 4 feet tall one that the bees loved, Selway terracotta, all in the orange section. Going from orange into the yellows, some fun ones again. You could, on one side, it had this giant sunflower. They don't know what kind it is. I don't know if it was put there on purpose, but if you come around to the other side, there it is. Monster of height right in the middle of it. And all sorts of beautiful combinations. This Swiss chard with the perfect matching celosia, fresh look yellow. And this is Swiss chard aureole. The Spilanthes eye drop again. Melampodium, this one's called Derby. And that was a full lush plant all the season as I followed it. And the fresh look celosia in the middle of Zinnia Double Sahara Yellow. It's a nice shape and form combination and a good splash of color right there. Now, her opinion, and mine too, after 22 years of trialing annuals, is my favorite zinnias are the Sahara and the Zesty, followed by Profusion. How about the white? Now, we only have 2 more, so hold on, don't fall asleep yet. There are wonderful plants in the white. We see the cardoon again with that big leaf texture. Cleome, this is grown from plugs. Oh, that's Senorita Blanca. There, I got the name. And a fun name to this tall Nicotiana, Only the Lonely, with all these really little frothy euphorbia and gomphrena in the front. So there it is again, the cardoon, the Nicotiana with height on both sides, and the texture variation is magnificent. Salvia vista white, only the lonely Nicotiana, and the froth of Euphorbia, Diamond Frost, and Gomphrena Buddy White, followed by the Salvia Vista White, which has kind of a creamy color. So here's an all white bed, still looks great. But she accentuates it with some silver foliage plant, just like she did in that bed out in front of the wedding area. This adds contrast and bold textures to the fine frilly texture. This is now I'm not going to be able to say it. I could earlier today. Sansevieria. Oh, I'm mangling it. Anyway, it's a snake plant, and there's a bunch of different kinds of snake plants they tried out. This one's called Moonshine, so it has a silver color, which goes great with Dusty Miller, and then a fan flower at the bottom. And finally, black, on to black. The black has some of the best names of all of these plants. Penstemon vertigo. We tried that years ago. I love it. It grows from a plug to get this big waterfall. Usually the leaves are a lot more burgundy than that, but they're wide leaves. And also there's more height here with ornamental millet and the black magic colocasia. Alternanthera, purple prince. What a great name. Some petunia and black lace sweet potato over here, along with bronze fennel, giving some orange or some yellow seed heads. Here's a celosia that's unique. It's called Dracula. It has some red burgundy tint to the foliage and these huge red heads. My husband was saying, oh, blood red. Okay, all right. So we're working in the black area. And then I made a collage of the other plants in there. Ornamental pepper, black pearl, alternanthera, purple prince. This is Nicotiana bronze. Oh, I got to remember it. Bronze queen. Looks more reddish to me. Black magic. Great name. This petunia had a great name. Black mamba, like the poisonous snake. And then, of course, Dracula, celosia. So if you know the names of some of these, it becomes more entertaining. And it was truly a beautiful garden. To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow. Audrey Hepburn. What a lovely plaque they had. And this is my family after listening to me talk about plants for 2 hours. Okay, so I'm done. I'm going to stop share. Good. Are you awake? Anyway, are there questions?
I don't see any questions in the chat, Ann.
Okay. Did I overwhelm you all with that too much?
Yeah, we were really busy writing things down.
But it's all on there. That's why I wanted to put it all on there. It's, you could take the design ideas and apply it to anywhere in a community garden, in your own garden. So that's why I tried to put some of the examples of the perennials in there. But the colors, the forms, the different types of blossoms, like from little ball ones to daisy ones to those big kale leaves. I love that garden. Anyway, go ahead.
It looks like we're just getting some positive remarks in the chat. 1 second. We do have a question from Pam. Did it take long to learn how to use PowerPoint for your design idea?
Wait. Okay, I didn't hear that. Try it again. I can answer Pam Hone's question. Did it take me long to learn the PowerPoint? Not that long, but I don't know how she made the diagrams. What you do on PowerPoint to try to get those pictures up, if you have 7 plants, it won't work. But you select a blank slide, then go up to the top left of PowerPoint where it says insert, and they have a drop-down menu. And the first option is from your computer. So then I would pick 6 colored plants and it'd go boom. And then on the right side on the right side, it would give you many different templates. I mean, it may give you like 8 different templates. So you put them in squares or that circle or others. So that actually wasn't too hard to do. but I don't know how to do a template on it. Uh-oh, slided out or moving forward. Okay. Well, anyway, I hope it gave you some inspiration, or if nothing else, you enjoyed my cat pictures or enjoyed some of the pictures of the flowers. Any other questions?
And I just have to tell you, thank you so much for a beautiful program. I think the reason
Thank
you're
you.
not getting many questions is because there's just so much that we're thinking about and want to do now. I want spring to come now.
Deer and rabbit problems don't seem evident at MSU. They have to have deer there. I don't know. Maybe not so much in the annuals garden because they have buildings all the way around it. Oh, I did want to say I'm going to give another talk on March 21st, and it's about last year's trial plants. So the ones that we grew at the Idea Garden, I'm going to summarize the different bronze, silver, gold medal winners, some participation award plants. And so I'll show actual pictures of that. That's March 21st at noon Central Standard Time. And it's for the Piatt County Master Gardeners. I asked if they could invite all of us. And so hopefully they will. YouTube channels or Instagram, I'd suggest for inspiration. No, I just wander through them. I like to look at Reddit. On Reddit, they have a lot of humorous things, which I don't know. Humor is great for the soul. But they also have some fun gardening things and channels there. I don't follow a lot of specific YouTube things. Thank you, everybody. Anyway. Yes, what else?
Anything else? Any other questions? Anne, thank you so much for the program. I just want to let everybody know that in March on the 28th, we will have a program called Water Management in the Garden Home. And there's a little survey there for you people that are online. And thank you very much. Thanks so much, Anne.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Have a good afternoon.